What's up, everybody? I am attempting to go live on multiple platforms here to give you a bit of an update and a brief as to what we're seeing in the marketplace. So it looks like we are currently on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We are on also YouTube, the Prime YouTube channel. So we have two YouTube channels. Prime is heavily geared towards people that are interested in what's happening in the marketplace. And I actually have TikTok streaming here as well too. So we've literally got every single platform. What's up, Kevin Amoroso? Canada does look beautiful today. It is quite warm outside, as many of you may know. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to share my screen here. I'm going to walk you through some of the insights that I put together. Just shared this as a post on Facebook. Let me increase this a little bit so you can actually read it. This would be on my personal page, but I'll give you a little bit more in-depth thought into what I'm seeing boots on the ground in our markets here. Just figured it'd be helpful, whether you're a buyer, you're a seller, you're an investor, whether you're looking for a real estate agent anywhere in North America. I can tell you Canada-wide, a lot of what we're seeing is happening stateside as well too. And many of the primary market things that we're seeing are moving to secondary and tertiary markets. So we do pay attention to what's happening from a macro perspective in Toronto as well as BC, because we know eventually it's going to come down the pipeline to our marketplace. So the title of this update was Interest Rate Optimism and GTA Momentum Are Giving Buyers New Leverage. Here's what's unfolding across Ontario. So the main headline, obviously, the Bank of Canada held its policy rate at 2.75% for the third time in a row. And markets are now pricing in a 38% chance of a cut by September, a modest rise from prior expectation. I would say anybody that is holding their breath, hoping that the interest rates are going to come save the housing market, or is going to be holding their breath for quite some time. 38% is definitely less than 50. To be quite honest with you, the people that are making moves right now realize that rates are affordable. It's more a balance of opportunity and pricing, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in this video. The big piece of conversation I've seen over the last week is Canada shed 40,800 jobs in July, sending employment to its lowest share in 8 months, reinforcing a softer economic backdrop. Now, I do think that the job losses that we are seeing, they're across multiple industries, definitely from housing, like construction jobs are slowing down because they're not building as much. AI is changing things up in a massive way in the tech space. And you're also seeing governments are slashing jobs left and right. A lot of people that are seasonal employees are not getting hired again. And this is across the entire country because we definitely have the belt tightening and there's a lot of spending going on and they're going to have to find that money somewhere. So they're starting internally and it's trickling through a lot of different industries. And one note of positive, actually, let me share this back with you here, is housing starts across Canada climbed with a 3.6% increase in the 6-month trend from May to June, signaling some momentum. I can tell you that boots on the ground, we are seeing more activity in the new development space. Case in point, we just launched a model with Halcyon. We did the event on Friday, and this is a new build site in Lambton in London, Ontario. So use it as a case study. We've had this site on the market for quite some time, and we've had a number of inquiries. We've built 2 houses, working on a third sale, so that only leaves 3 lots left. But the number of inquiries we saw on realtor.ca was not as many as you would think previously. We opened the model yesterday. We were slammed all weekend with people walking through the models, and the amount of people that actually want to build and are coming from other sites and agents with buyers. I was talking to my team member, and I'm like, man, why are these people just calling us off the sign and pre-negotiating or trying to get a deal done before actually driving by? But humans are simple. They want to see what they can see. And now that we have a model that is ready to go, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually sell that before we even sell the next lot, because that's what something we've been seeing across all of our sites across Southwestern Ontario. If you're building models, you're building specs, you're often going to sell that product. You're going to potentially sell another one using that product, put another foundation in, and chug along. But we have seen a little bit of an uptick in the interest in new houses in the last month. What that means for jobs down the line, it is only to be seen. You have to keep in mind that when they are slashing jobs, 40,000 jobs, that is a latent indicator of what's happening in the marketplace. What is happening today is different than what happened 3 or 4 months ago. And sometimes the data you're seeing is old information. The Ontario snapshot, Ontario's average home price in June was $852,000, reflecting a 1.1 monthly decline and a 3.7% annual decline. Keep in mind this has been fairly consistent. And part of that is because sellers are trying to find the market. When you see a decline in home prices, it's because maybe somebody has their house listed, nobody's showing it, they drop it 25 or 50K, all of a sudden it sells. Well, that's the new comparable for that property. Hence why you're seeing people are trying to find the market. I wouldn't be surprised if you see this continue, because the market's there. And when you find it, all of a sudden you see a flurry of activity on stuff that's been sitting around forever. And it's wild, because if you're a seller, how many sellers watching this feel like, well, I'm going to list at this. I'm sure if they want to make an offer, they'll make an offer. And then you're sitting there wondering why they're not making an offer. And then you do a slight reduction, and all of a sudden you get multiple people interested in your property. That's just human nature, and you have to be price to market. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Ashika, no, we are not currently hiring. We're a little bit different than other brokerages. We have a waiting list of agents. We don't just hire everybody and anybody. We're a Navy SEAL team of operators that covers Southwestern Ontario. We sell every asset class of real estate. So if you're doing residential, commercial, agriculture, anywhere from the London greater area, that's Lake Erie to Lake Huron, Grand Bend to Port Stanley, everything in between Kitchener to that Sarnia area, we are here to serve you at a very, very high level. Currently, we're very much focused on over-delivering for our clients. And we actually only work typically by a referral or with a very specific type of avatar of client. But if you're interested in seeing if you're that avatar or whatever you're working on, we love solving creative problems. You can email us at info@primebrokerage.ca. So hopefully that answers your question. Back to the headlines. Career-wide data shows home sales nationally climbed 2.8% month over month in June, led by Toronto's rebound. Headlines are everywhere about this. Sales in the GTA are up 17% cumulatively since April. Definitely seeing a bigger uptick in activity. I'm so curious though, because it is the holiday type of summer right now where a lot of people are cottaging. We have Labor Day coming up. We just had a long weekend, and seeing that activity, like me talking with all my agent partners, we've all been very busy. Like I was just away for a little bit. I did not work at all while I was on vacation. And we're kind of like farmers. When the business is there, you have to be there to capitalize on it. And you have to stay on top of the market, grinding it out, making phone calls. I don't have to preach to the choir, but it's busier. You can definitely feel it. And the Southwestern Ontario breakdown, though, compared to Toronto, I like looking at Toronto to see what's happening down the market. Like I see what's happening in Brampton, and I see people selling their houses for $600,000 less than the peak. And I like staying on top of that because we are resilient. Southwestern Ontario hasn't gotten beat up as bad as that area. But the question that I ask myself is, are we going to? Like, is this something that's coming in 90 to 120 days? Because if I'm advising my clients and all of a sudden a potential $600,000 price correction is coming, I want to be the first one to tell them. I don't want to overpromise to my clients. I want to tell them the truth. It's partly why I do these market updates every week. Normally, I never shared these online. I kind of just did them internally for myself and the team. But I figured if this gives you any value, let me know on whatever platform you're watching this on, and I will continue to do this. The London St. Thomas market still balanced overall with sales to new listing ratios at 44%, but the momentum in the GTA is creating a ripple effect. Buyers are watching Southwest markets for better value. Port Stanley and Lambton Shores are seeing early signs of increased interest in waterfront, and rural parcels are showing, but activity remains disciplined and opportunity driven. We actually just sold unit 44. It's a Domus product, the last condo in phase 1, and we just launched phase 2, and we already have interest in some of the product in phase 2. We should give you an indication that people are actually buying off the plan, not something we have seen before. We're about to launch a couple other projects with Wasco, Hull's Custom Homes in Lucan, and we have Crown Homes in Sunningdale. And some of those are just dirt right now, but I'm very curious to see if that trend continues and people start making phone calls on dirt for a to-be-built house. Very curious to see what happens. Grand Bend and the luxury market, waterfront luxury remains tight. There's just not that many options, folks. Inventory low, but buyer interest is selective but serious. I just showed that waterfront property I have between Grand Bend and Bayfield. It's listed at $3 million to 2 buyers in the last month. Had a great follow-up call with one of them about a week ago, and I'm anticipating potentially getting a number from them in the next week or so. So there is activity out there, folks. Luxury market, I've been digging into the stats between that 1.8 to 3 million to $4 million range, and really looking at how my listings stack up against the competition. And sometimes it's just a very specific type of home for a very specific type of buyer, and it's going to be time on market or price. A lot of the $2 to $3 million product that could have sold for 2.5, 2.7, agents are relisting them at like 1.99 and selling them in multiples, a little bit over asking price, but those sellers don't care. They just want to move on to the next phase of their life. So if you're a buyer looking to buy up, great opportunity. If you're a seller looking at a sale of a luxury home, I definitely think strategy is one of the most important things you need to pay attention to. And what does it mean for you? Well, the markets are flattening, but there's clear pockets of real momentum and opportunity. For buyers, you definitely have strategic leverage, but not everywhere is dropping. Negotiating environments are increasingly favorable. But I also highlight this for people that are looking to sell. It's really important for you to realize that if you're a seller or a seller's agent, you do not have to feel like you're going to get rolled over by every buyer that comes your way. That is not the case. You can fight for value, but you really want to be dialed with the people that you were working with and make sure that strategy is how it's supposed to be. And I just realized my Facebook friend list is being shared here as well. So shout out to Chris Marshall Kaplan. This guy right here, we just dropped a podcast. He is a Hollywood director. And he's incredible. And if you're curious about storytelling, go watch the Prime People podcast with him. Shout out to Justin and Wasim, some nice people that just popped out there. And Mark Rawmaker, very, very good real estate agent from Sirhan, who taught me a whole bunch of stuff on the Prime People podcast as well. Jason Mitchell, I am happy to help. I appreciate the comments so much. If you're on any of these platforms, feel free to jump in with a question. I do answer these live, and I'm happy to tell you what I'm seeing boots on the ground. For sellers, again, what's the opportunity for you? Pricing really, really matters. Overpriced listings will sit. Sharply positioned homes will probably sell very quickly, like 30 to 45 days. And if you're not achieving showings and other houses around you are selling, that should tell you something. For builders and developers, the uptick in housing starts is a mild positive, but condo projects still seem to be under pressure. That's more in the GTA market, to be honest with you. Value locals like low-rise rental developments may win the week. We're definitely seeing that with the Domus product in Port Stanley. People like it. They built a really good product, and they really fought to build a community there and not just fire sale it to investors. Speaking of investors, Toronto's bounce matters, and Southwestern Ontario remains a fertile ground for those seeking value plus upside in land or curated inventory. Definitely see that investors are getting super sharp with their price points. And we have an insiders mailing list. So if you're curious about how to get on our mailing list and get insights like these from a monthly basis, I typically do the weekly ones. My wife, who's the real brains of the organization, really digs in and drops what's called the Prime Insiders newsletter once a month. They're actually working on it right now. We typically have off-market opportunities in there, our thoughts on the marketplace and where it's going, and opportunities to come and get into exclusive Prime events. The next Prime experience is being set up for the fall. So that's how you get on that list. So if you enjoyed this update, feel free to let me know. Typically like to do it at the beginning of every week. Sometimes I do it from Prime HQ. Sometimes I do it out there in the wild, but hopefully you got a little bit of value and helping you, and hopefully you're enjoying the sunshine. I'll see you on the next one.